G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by DaseinWasHere and Osiris Frost. How you boys doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Considered.
So this episode today came about because we actually got a suggestion on the Discord to redo one of our former older episodes from about 2 years ago now, with a very similar title to this called The Future of Star Citizen. And so we thought it might be time to do an update based on one of our viewers' suggestions. And so we're going to go over a few of similar things to that video and a few different things from that video. But also, yeah, if you like these type of videos, feel free to subscribe, like the video, ring the bell, all that type of jazz.
Even a dislike, I mean, either one, interaction helps the channel.
No dislikes.
Hey,
Only
let's
like
be honest, it's the feedback's a gift.
Anyway, on with the video. So, I think we'll start with this with the elephant in the room. And
You
that's
mean blue whale?
Yeah, maybe. Well,
It's
space
grown in
whale.
size.
Space whale is the it may go at the moment.
the giant space cow in the room.
And that's Squadron 42. And I'll kind of kick it off. Like, where do you guys think realistically we will be playing Squadron 42? Like when is the earliest version? Whether it's a beta version or something like that. What do you think will be the earliest time period? So Dyson.
2021. 2021 and we're talking about late 2021, and honestly, I think full release sometime early to mid 2022, and that's mainly due to funding issues, because I don't see them being able to keep stalling that, because Squadron 42, if it is successful, is going to be the big game that we're hoping. And the reason I say that is if you look at some of their early stuff, and people are like, why has this been delayed? If you look at some of the early footage and some of the early graphics and stuff, it is light years ahead where it is now. And this needs to be perfect, because single player games haven't necessarily been in the forefront. A lot of people talk about them. And this is going to be hitting all of those niches, a big cinematic single player game. And you have them on the consoles all the time, but this time on the PC, it's going to be great to see.
Sorry, same question.
I kind of agree. I think probably 18 months or so, which would put us late 2021. And honestly, I hope that that's the earliest that we get Squadron 42, because the core fundamentals like the flight model and stuff still need a lot of help. If this game arrived where it is still appearing on the roadmap, I'm afraid that it would be dead in the water, because there's still a lot of work to do in a short amount of time. And I don't like that, because I personally would prefer that they prioritize the PU over Squadron 42, but I get the business reasons why they're not doing it that way. So I think it's really important that they put their best foot forward and make sure that the launch of Squadron 42 goes off without a hitch. So I'd say 18 months at the that's where my guess is.
It has to go well.
I think it's a little bit harder to predict than I would normally think it would be, especially with the human malware situation at the moment, because we don't know how long that is going to affect development. If that, say it set everything back 6 months, you can push it back 6 months. So I think when the situation is over,
I feel like it's going to be more of an excuse, though, the human malware thing.
It's not an excuse. It's definitely harder to work from home. You don't have that interaction. You don't have the cohesion. You can't just turn to the person beside you and say, hey, I need this from you. You have to send them a text message, and they might not get back to you straight away. And if you're sitting there waiting, therefore you can't move forward. If you don't have something else to do.
Internet connection, now that you mention it. But
so there are a few things. But the point I'm trying to get at, I think you could take what we would have predicted before this and add that gap to it. So if you were to turn around and say 18 months, I think you've also got to put COVID in front of that. And I didn't want to say that word, but I did anyway.
Well, now we're demonetized, so let's just keep going.
So you're thinking more like 24 months or more, maybe?
I don't know. Like, if you'd asked me back at the start of this year, I would have said that I would have expected probably CitizenCon in 2021. But with that whole situation, I think if you take that and add the current situation to it, I think it's almost going to extend it by that. And I think that would be at maximum. It's probably going to be less than that, like Dyson suggested. But I think we have to be very much aware of that situation. And I think it's definitely going to have follow-on effects. I don't think it's gonna push push it back. I just think it's going to be whatever that certain amount of time is. You can almost expect that to in some say it goes for 6 months. It might push it back by 3 months. It just makes it really hard to predict something when you don't have experience with that. Like, how do you guess how long? Like, even the current political leaders and all the advisors can't tell us how long it's going to be. They just said they want it to be this long, but let's be honest, you can't tell a virus how long it's going to have to live.
Well, then all the other economic issues that can happen afterwards. I mean, you have UN reports talking about famine is quite likely after because of this, and that all those stuff that involve that and all the politics. This can be a rather interesting time period to try to develop a game in.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of question marks.
So I think the key thing will be hearing that we've hit beta. And I think in a normal game, it's usually a minimum of 6 months before you go to gold after that. But I think you've got to be realistic. This game is a lot more complicated than the average game, and a lot of even back in Kickstarter, they used to say it's like 4 games in one. Now I know it's only the single player component, but it's also a lot higher fidelity, and we also add to that, we know Chris Roberts is a perfectionist. We also, there's lots of moving parts in that. I expect that to be on the longer side, not on the shorter side of regular single player development. I think it would be generous to say CitizenCon next year. And why I hope it would be this year, that'd be great. But and I probably before this whole situation probably said it could have been possible. I think it's definitely out of the realm of possibility right now.
It would have been nice for a demo mission at least, because if you look on their roadmap, a couple of them are very, very, very close to completion, and some of them are just really far away. It's really interesting.
They may still do that in my book, but we'll have to wait and see. I am. On another note, and this is just a small tangent on the future of Star Citizen, so to speak, I actually am kind of a bit hopeful of this year because of the current situation, that because if there is not a CitizenCon, it'll be an online CitizenCon, and I think as a whole that'll be better for the community. When they're actually presenting stuff to everyone being online, I think it'll be a much better experience to them presenting to a crowd and then having a couple of million people being tagged and dragged along. And I can tell you for a fact, the ones that I've watched, and when you just like, why is the camera not on the screen? Like, little things like that, I just think it'll be a much better experience because it'll be tailored at us. It'll be a lot more intimate experience where it'll probably be Chris Robert right up in the camera. And it'll feel like he's talking just to you. I think the whole experience will probably be better. What do you guys think about that? Do you, just real quickly, do you think that'll be a better experience this year if it is tailored that way, or would you?
I think absolutely, yeah. I think that this community could stand to get a lot more direct interaction from Chris Roberts, and I think what you just described would be really awesome.
Yeah. Would you rather see that yourself, Dyson? Would you rather?
It needs to be electronic, because honestly, the biggest issue I've had with CitizenCon is they aren't Blizzard yet. They aren't this huge company, and it feels like just a whole bunch of time and resources into it that really could be scaled down a little bit. I mean, even if you argue that it kind of pays for itself with the tickets and stuff, it just makes a lot more sense for the audience, especially because not everyone can travel, and it's really bad, in my opinion, for people overseas, because they, like in Australia, you guys never get love over there.
Well, we actually were toying with coming this year, but obviously that's off the table now. But anyway, that's for another time. Maybe next year, we'll see. I do want to add to that really quickly, though, just a little bit of information. The biggest piece of information I heard this year was when they brought on, I've forgotten the gentleman's name, the guy from Frankfurt, the guy that runs it, the really long dreadlock guy. What's his name?
Brian Chambers.
Brian Chambers, yeah. Well, he came on and he actually talked about that they were wanting to share more of Squadron 42. I've been waiting to hear that for like 5 years. And I think if they actually start incorporating it into Inside Star Citizen and stuff like that, I've been saying for years that they could be releasing stuff and not spoiling the story. And we've already seen a few things, like when they showed off that space station. That was awesome. Like, that's all we've wanted to see is cool little tidbits. Doesn't give
just
away
show
much.
A little snippet. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to ruin everything.
So That's the first positive thing I've heard this year. So yeah. All right, I think we should probably move on to the PU now because, and I think while the things we talked about there, especially with the current situation in the world, will carry on over to here. So please keep that in mind. So I'll start with you, Osiris. So we'll go backwards this time. So Osiris, what are your thoughts on the current situation of the PU? And should we do? I'm going to ask you guys a different question first. Do you think we should do what we expect or what we want first? So what would you like to talk about first, guys?
Let's talk about reality, honestly.
Let's talk about reality?
Okay.
All right, so
let's
let's talk about what we expect first. All right, so Osiris, what are you expecting to see, and how long do you reckon until we get the game to a point that where you feel you can play it on a regular basis in the PU?
Well, to their credit, I'll say that 3.9 was a pretty big step in that direction. It's, to me, the experience of the alpha so far has been, in terms of quality of life, it's been like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There's been a lot of rushed patches where the release, like think about 3.8 and how buggy that was, and I barely touched it. And 3.9 so far has been a much better experience. So I hope that their development sensibilities lead them to not sacrifice quality of life going forward, because it doesn't matter what features you add. If the game is buggy, I'm not going to play it.
Well,
I'm just going to say on a side note,
it's an alpha.
I've been having some really annoying problems with the criminal system, but that's a tale for another time.
It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was.
Same question for you, Dyson. Where do you think? How long will it take till you can actually? You didn't really answer the question, Osiris. How long do you reckon it's going to be? I just realized you didn't actually give us a time frame.
How long do I think?
How long do you reckon you can actively play the PU? Like, is it going to be 1 year, 2 year, 27 years? Like,
I think it'll be within the next 12 months, and okay. Really, what I'm looking for, they're just starting to get to the cusp of, and we can talk about this more later. Yeah. We don't have to jump into it now, but more gameplay loops is really what I need to see.
I think you and everyone is in the same boat there when they come to gameplay loops, but I think Squadron 42 is just holding that up. So Dyson, same question. When do you think you're going to be able to play Star Citizen on a regular basis in the persistent universe?
Late 2021, 2022. And the reason I say this is, when you look at things, I think when Squadron 42 comes out, that means the flight model is finally going to be fine-tuned to a point where it's good, or at least passable. Then you have the AI, the massive improvements that are going to be back then. Because right now, the biggest issues with Star Citizen: 1, you have the flight model. 2, you have the AI. And the AI is a really big one, because for this to be a playable game, I need to be able to, if I'm wanting to do dogfighting, I need the AI to actually be a challenge and not glitch out all the time and stop. If you want to do FPS, you need that. If you need cargo running and stuff, you want the world to feel alive. If I just want to explore, I want to go to a planet and be able to at least feel like there's different people there, they're interacting, they're doing things, and there's mission givers. And I feel you're not going to get that until you fix the AI. And honestly, I don't think server meshing is really going to truly be a good thing until a little bit farther on, because even if they start testing it out and start working things, I think it's going to be a decent amount of time before you can realistically start to expect to have some good server meshing experiences.
Yeah, that AI is really held up by the way the networking works, and so until the networking, and as you've suggested, the server meshing is online, we are not going to get some smart cookie AI, to put it that way. And considering, like as we said before the show, they've said 90% of this universe is meant to be AI, and I don't know if you guys have been in 3.9 lately, but I was walking into some space stations and it was pretty creepy, because like you'd walk up to places and there'd just be a row of 10 AI in the middle of a corridor, and it's like, hey, hi
just
guys.
hanging out.
Yep, just hanging out.
Or invisible AI. Like I was doing the 890 mission and I was getting shot from literally an invisible person. I'm like, what in the world's going on here? And someone else was there, and they couldn't see them either, and we're like, where?
Yeah,
What's going on?
Oh, you don't want to see them. That's an unfair advantage.
On a more positive note, though, I will say some of the AI in the commons area of New Babbage does look fairly interesting with the jogging and the exercising. And I have also noticed there's a lot more female AI where previously we have not seen that. So
Yes.
there is definitely some small steps forward, but like Osiris said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Look,
Honestly,
to me, the persistent universe, it depends how detailed they go and what paths they take. If they come in with a hyper gameplay loops like Osiris has suggested, you could have one system and it could be really, really interesting. If they go down the route of like making many and multi systems that are very empty, it could be very great for exploration, but really terrible for others. I think for me, the real area that comes in, I've hit somewhere that Dice wants to talk about. We'll get back to that in a minute. Is quests. I think until we actually get some really cool quests coming in, I think combining that with even the most fundamental basic level, so let's just take mining for example, that's kind of already there in its fundamental state. Until we actually get that in with quests that are not just the same repetitive crap over and over and over, I think that's where it's going to kick off. And we've seen that they've detailed out these really cool quest systems that will give you unique and randomly generated quests that feel different every time. And if they can nail that, this game will be amazing. Look at how many, and I said to these guys before the show, look how many people play Eve, and that is literally, a lot of the times, go kill 10 of these, and then go kill 25 of these, and collect some of this stuff. And it's just the same 3 or 4 quests over and over, but with a different skin.
Wow. Most popular MMO of all time. It's literally fetch quests.
Yeah, well, even WoW is the same. It's WoW's, I think the only ones in WoW are kill, collect, and follow someone. I don't think there's many more variants, and I know they have special one-offs that are pretty unique.
But that's 99% of it right there.
Yeah, 99. Like, and I'm telling you, there will be kill quests in this game. I just don't know how detailed they'll be. And the other, okay, let's just give an example. In Star Citizen, though, you've got in vehicle, in ship, on foot. Like, even just there's a variety right there, just in the killing. So if you can take that already pretty much already beats World of Warcraft in that. I know World of Warcraft will have special missions where they put you in a catapult or something like that, but they're few and far between.
But you also have overall story arcs and some of that stuff with some of that. And I'm just going to get into one of my big concerns with Star Citizen here. And that is going to be the population of quests and areas and procedure generation, because right now they have some great procedural generation, some of the best I've seen, but there's some major issues with it. Like if you walk on stations, you walk into some weird corridors that look like they're leading somewhere, but they aren't. There's some really weird stuff with some of the procedural generation, but it's procedurally generated quests that are the issue. You need to have that uniqueness and branching, because right now the best quest, hands down, is the PI investigation mission.
Yep.
In my opinion, you have a story. It's not just, hey, go shoot something, or hey, go fetch this. It's, hey, let's go take a look at this. You uncover different things, and depending on how far you go in that mission, that tells you how much you actually what you actually get out of that story. And there's multiple different endings. Like that type of quest needs to be around.
Well, to kind of add to that, we know they're kind of working on that kill the Idris thing. So they're trying to look at, if you look back at other MMOs, the closest thing I can equate that to is the public boss killing missions in other MMOs. I think the first one that ever did it was one of the Warhammer Online MMOs. So basically, if that Idris rocks up, you have one person that has the quest, but everyone else has to join in, and they all reap the rewards. So you'll all get XP, you'll all get that sort of stuff. And it's like a community quest. So I think that's the first kind of thing we're going to see. That's the first type of something that's different. But we do have things like the investigation quest that is a unique, customly crafted. They mentioned they're going to have different ones like that. So customly crafted, procedurally generated, and I
the
think
mix.
you will see. Well, they even talked about having audio log quests, um, you know, text-based quests, and then you'll also have ones like Miles Eckhart, where it's actually a quest giver giving it to you. So I think there's like they're going to draw on as many different varieties as they possibly can. But I think at the end of the day, if you're getting your quest from an NPC or a text, if it's the same quest, it doesn't matter. It's literally kind of goes back to what Osiris was saying. It's that gameplay and those gameplay loops. They really need to be there. And for me, there's too many different ways they can go at the moment for me to accurately say how long I think it's going to be. Like it's like at max, I think they could say it could be 5 years, but like you also suggested at Dyson, I think it really comes down to when Squadron 42 is complete, and I think within 6 to 12 months after that's completed, you'll see very quickly you'd be able to predict how long it's going to take.
Well, the thing is, and this is my concern with the scope of this game, is you're going to have all these systems. They promised so many systems. It was like 100 systems, but the issue is it going to feel actually lived in? Because just look at some of the planets right now. You have your main hub. You don't really have a lot of villages. Even when I saw them making like little towns and outposts,
that was kind of back before they had procedurally generated planets, though, and they've kind of updated it since then and said on release we'll probably have 10 systems. So we probably will get to 100 systems, but it'll probably take 10 years, right?
I fully agree, but I'd rather have it fleshed out. Like I'd rather have
I think
4
you're going to get
systems.
I think you're going to get
well
your wish.
fleshed out.
I think you're going to get your 5 to 10 systems at release, and I think they'll slowly build towards 100 over the next 10 years. Osiris, what are your thoughts on that?
I think 5 to 10 at release, and I think that based on the Tony Z Quanta panel, I'm kind of encouraged actually that we're going to have enough spontaneous content scattered enough throughout the verse that the depth you're concerned with will be there, and it won't be a shallow experience.
I also think with the news this week of space cows, some aliens creatures added to the universe will definitely liven up some of the planets.
I actually wasn't sold on Star Citizen until they announced Space Cows, and now I can tell you I'm here to stay.
Yeah. I found it really weird too in the thing how he's like, "Oh, I'm going to surprise you about how they carry the eggs," but there's a picture and it literally shows the eggs hanging out of where the others are. Like,
hey,
whatever.
It makes sense. You have to have something for Mark Hamill.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Cut it open and lie in it, but anyway, we'll see.
Green milk.
Yeah, and the blue milk, yeah, or green milk. Look, is there anything else you guys want to add? I think that kind of wraps it up for me. Like I still find with the current situation, it's very hard for me to predict as well as I used to. I think there's been too many changes for myself. So, anything else?
Well, the only thing, nothing else on this topic, but the only other concern that you really have to look at the future of Star Citizen is honestly what's going to be fun for people that have everything and don't have anything.
Yeah, and to kind of draw the circle closed on some of the things we talked about, I like, for example, this patch we're getting the Prowler, right? But the gameplay, the boarding gameplay, isn't there yet, and so there isn't an obvious application for the Prowler. I would like them to reprioritize the features they add so that we sequentially get things that are related to each other.
That's been going on for so long, though, hasn't it? Like I'm thinking back to the Reclaimer, the Staff era, like, and we're going back 2 or 3 years here. Like, you know,
who gives a shit about the Reclaimer until there's salvage? Like, it doesn't. I know that there's a lot, but just rather than try to go for a variety of things, try to go for a holistic, you know,
to the Prowler's
whole
credit,
gameplay.
I can see people like Rexzilla using that quite a lot, like they did with the Valkyrie. But I think what you're hitting on is honestly that ship is like a bigger, fatter Vanguard at the moment, or Vanguard Hoplite.
Yeah, with the Prowler, I want to see
talking about like Sorry, say again.
I said now that we have the Prowler, I'd like to see mag boots and hull breaching.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the ship itself. So things like the ground thing that stops it hovering and the phallic shield. I would have liked to seen those come with it, and they're just 2 little features like
the phalanx shield.
The phallic. What did you call it?
You call it the phallic shield?
I call it the phallic.
That's what he called it.
It's
and
the
I was-
phallic shield, isn't it? Oh, well, that's what I call it. Whatever. Maybe I got it wrong. Whatever.
Just stop there, because
Inforunners After Dark.
Yeah. Don't go there again.
The following content is rated M for mature.
Not this one. He's not rated M for mature. He's PG as hell. Anyway. Alright. He's been Dyson.
All right.
I've been Execute. He's been Osiris Frost. And we'll catch you guys next time.
See you later.
Okay.